What's going on, guys? It is Wednesday night again, and here we are at Squadron Live. I appreciate you being here. I hope that you have had a good week. I've had a good week. Busy as always, it seems. Always something going on here at Squadron, but that's what we're here for, buying and selling models. And there's been a lot of that going on lately, so it's all good over here. Hey everybody, how are you tonight, Joseph? Good to see you tonight, my friend. And Danny, I've got you're going to Bucky's to get some hot sauce. Well, I've got a surprise for you. Check out what just showed up today. This is not in focus. Well, anyway, this is the first of our new 6 hot sauces that we've got, and this is the B29, the Atomic Explosion hot sauce with Carolina Reaper peppers, and this stuff is pretty good. I had some today at lunch, and let's just say it's hot. But that's the point, right? And if you see my camera moving, I've got this new camera. Tonight's my first night using it, and it's supposed to stay in focus better. And so far, I was testing it out, and I think it looks good. I hope that it looks good on your end. I'm just trying to get my setup here a little bit better. I always appreciate you guys coming to hang out with me on Wednesday nights, and if we're going to keep doing this, the least I can do is make my equipment look decent and sound good. So I'm just trying to get things better. So this fancy little camera is going to follow me around. So if I walk over here, it's going to follow me. So it's kind of neat. And the over here next to me, I've rearranged the room a little bit, and over here next to me is what has become the running joke here on Wednesday nights, the Dora model. But I have to say, I've got a little camera set up over here above the table. It's the progress has continued. The Dora build has resumed. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. When you don't work on a kit for a while, you kind of, especially something like this with so many parts, you kind of forget, or at least I do, where you were. So right now, it's just taking me a few minutes. Well, more than a few minutes. It's taking me a little while to refamiliarize myself with the kit and where I left it. All these, I guess, what's now months ago since I last really worked on it. So, but it's cool. It's big. I've got this this big table over here for doing my models on, and it's one of those big. I don't know, big old school table desks. It was left here at the house that I'm in, and it's all beat up. You can see it. So my wife gave me permission to destroy it with model paint and such. So I'm pretty excited, and it's a good size for this Dora. The Dora actually fits on here and leaves me a little bit of room to work. And then back here on my other table, that gives me enough room to spread the parts out. So this kit is just huge, and it takes a lot of room just to work on it. And thankfully now I have that room, so the kit can resume. So we'll see how that goes. Oh man, David, highs in the 20s. Yeah, it's not that cold here yet. I tell you though, the last couple of days, summer went away. Fall got here, and it's been a little chilly, especially at night. I don't mind it. I really enjoy that kind of weather. It's probably been in the I don't know, in the 60s, so not really cold, nothing like you've got, David. But for us over here, the last several weeks being in the 90s, being in the 60s is very welcome. So, David, good to see you tonight. Glad you got your final countdown order going. Yeah, tonight's final countdown is some figure models. So if you are 35th scale, if you do any kind of figures, dioramas, that kind of stuff, these Master Box Limited, they make some really good stuff and good kits. And these 4 figure sets are on sale tonight for $9.99 each. Can't beat it. So check those out and jump on there if that is something that you would like. But glad you got yours, David. Good to see you in here tonight. And Wes, good to see you tonight coming from Florida. And I hope you and everybody else down that way is getting things back in order from the storm last week. And I hope that you are all doing well. Good to see you tonight. Good to see you, Derek. And Jason's in here tonight. And the lawn care novice is back with us. Good to see you. And hello to you too, Rex. And Ed, looks like you got your hint of fall as you're referring to it. That's good. And you're going to be back in the 90s. I hope that we are not, but you never know. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. Hey, Robert, good to see you tonight. Greg, good to see you. And Ken and Tom coming to us from Florida. Good to see you tonight, buddy. And Tom, I see your question here about the True Details items. Unfortunately, the answer is no. Well, mostly no. We brought back some of the wheel sets, and that was about it, really. Let's see, I can show you here on our site. We've got several of the wheel sets in 32, 72, 48 scale, but that's about it. Those were, when we got everything, those molds and masters, they were easily identifiable. We had everything, and it made sense to make those. All the other things that had multiple parts, they were just unorganized. If some cockpit set or whatever it was, needed 3 parts, maybe we had 2 of them. Or if something had 5 parts, maybe we had 1 of them or 4 of them, or it was just a big mess. And we spent a good little while going through all that. We hung on to it for quite a while, but at some point it just started taking up room, and they're gone. So, but with Edward and ResKit and all these other companies now that we've got, they're producing such good quality stuff now with the 3D printing. Really, some of that old True Detail stuff we have was really outdated anyway. Now, granted, I do know that they True Details had in the what was it, Black Box and Avionics, not Avionics, maybe it was, whatever, the 3 or 4 different lines that Squadron had. They had several things that are not available in any other form. So it's unfortunate that we don't have those to produce again, but that's kind of the answer on that. Let's see, Wayne, good to see you tonight. And Frank's with us again, and party time indeed. Let's see. Frank, you are the 3rd person, I think, this week to ask me about propellers for an Airfix 72 scale boat. So I don't know. We don't have any of them that we produce. There was a company a while back, I forget the name, that made a lot of brass propellers, but I don't know if he's still around. I haven't seen that stuff in a while, and I don't really know anybody else that's doing anything like that. Now, you may find some that are 3D printed, but the only brass props that I know about that we have are the ones that would be included in like the Pontos detail sets, which they don't have one for that Airfix kit, unfortunately. But we'll see if somebody can start making that stuff. Though doing brass props is really, really helpful for not just what you need, but for all the different ship models. Oh, there's Ed answering the question for me. I think Ed was one of the other ones that asked about that. So, all right, Ken's working on the trumpeter Dwight D. Eisenhower kit. That's a good kit. I look forward to seeing how that turns out for you. Speaking of uh, trumpeter carriers, I'm really looking forward to seeing more information about this 350th scale uh, Ford kit, Gerald Ford, that they're doing. I don't know exactly when it's going to be here. It's going to be next year. We're still waiting on price for it, but it's going to be it's going to be pretty good, I think. Their Nimitz kit was, of course, a good kit, and that was tooled up quite a while ago. So it'll be interesting to see how they do this one. Um, this is literally the only picture we've got of it at the moment. So hopefully we'll get some more information about that soon. Get some closer up shots, maybe see what they're doing on the inside for the interior, the hangar deck. Um, Curious to see what kind of planes it's going to come with. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be pretty cool, and I'm excited about that. Let's see. Um, okay, everybody's talking about. Yeah, throw in the chat what everybody's working on. This is cool to see what you guys are building. Frank's working on to me a car kit, and then jumping back over to some ship models. That'll be good. The Frank, the Very Fire Deluxe Montana, man, that's a nice kit. I've been working on doing these reviews. You can see back here, I've kind of started doing that, but I had to put them up because I got the new Magic Factory M10 Booker kit. So I've got that strode out, and I'm trying to do a little video to show you what's in there. But going through that Montana kit, uh, just the detail set that's in there, there's a lot of goodies. So that's you're going to have a lot of fun with that. Hey Ted, good to see you tonight, buddy. Long day for you too, huh? Well, we are here to build models now, or you guys build models. I guess I'm just talking. But hey, I got my workbench set up. I'm going to be building before too long. Let's see. Kimberly, the next show and tell. I'd never mentioned that last week or 2 weeks ago when we did the show and tell. We're going to do the next one on November 6th, which is the first Wednesday night in November. So you got you a couple of weeks, and send your pictures that you want me to put on the show and tell. Send them to info@squadron.com. Email them to me there, and I will make sure to get you included in the next show and tell. I really enjoy that. It's a fun time because I get to see what you guys are building. Can't go wrong with the Tamiya kit. Yeah, going back to what Frank was talking about, choosing his Tamiya Yamato or the Very Fire Montana. Montana's just on my mind because I've been going through that kit, but that deluxe Yamato from Tamiya, that's a massive kit. Very, very nice. I've not built one. I don't even have one, um, but know all about it, so you'll enjoy that as well. Either way, good to see you tonight. And Frank is in here, Kenneth and Steven, Big D, Big Denny. Howdy to you too, buddy. Hey, Bill, good to see you tonight. Right up the road from us. Yeah, I've got a show up there soon. And by the way, Jason, I am going to miss that show. I have I have something else we've got to do that weekend, so it is official that I will not be there, and I apologize. I know you guys are going to have a good time though. But I will see you all, I hope, in Chattanooga at the IPMS show in January. We're always looking forward to that show, and I'm really looking forward to that show this year because I live here now. So it's really fast for me to get here. I think the convention center is about 15 or 20 minutes from our shop now, so it'll be a quick trip to haul the trailer over there full of goodies. Kenny, what's up to you too, buddy? Hope you're having a good evening. Hey Kenny, the yeah, my arcade. I have trying to get that set up over here at the new house, but can't do the fun stuff until I get the required stuff done. So I'm almost done over here painting and setting up and moving furniture around and all that. We'll get the arcade going again soon. I'm just catching up to your guys' comments about my Dora. Yeah, wow, Dora under construction. Believe it or not. Uh, you know, Robert, I don't know if I have a ruler in here, but let's do this to give you a sense of scale for the Dora. Watch this. We're going to take a 35th scale kit. This is the new Magic Factory Booker kit, 35th scale. So there it is. There's you a 35th scale tank kit, modern tank kit, sitting next to the Dora, just to give you an idea of how monstrous this thing is. And to give you a little bit of another idea of how big it is, here's a 32 scale Devastator. So the Dora is certainly a huge kit. No question about that at all. So, I mean, the box that the Dora comes in, like the kit box, weighs 50 pounds. 50 pounds, and there's nothing in there but plastic and the one instruction manual. The metal gun barrel that you see there, that does not come with the kit. That's aftermarket. But it is certainly a cool kit. And yes, Frank, it's a big sucker. Brian working on a P40. That'll be a nice kit. The Eagle Cows, they make some good stuff. For sure. Hey Mike, good to see you. James, good to see you. And Jerry's with us. Hey Bernard, good to see you tonight. Yeah, the new book. Let me get it pulled up here. For anybody that I've had a couple people email me and ask what book cover won the contest for this new B24 book. Perhaps you missed the show 2 or 3 weeks ago when we made that announcement. So this is the artwork that won the voting that we did. So it's going to be the Double Trouble, and the back cover will have the runner up there, which was the Zodiac's Squadron. So this is what the book looks like with the front and the back cover. If you had it, open, laying on its cover, I guess you could say. So it'll be neat. We've got a lot more work left to do on it, a good bit of work. So you won't see this book this year, but we're going to do our best to get it out next year. And it's not just the book; it's all of these images that you see, like these 2 pictures that you're looking at. Every one of these planes that are in these 2 pictures and all the other pictures in the book that Peter is putting together, they're all these decal or all these markings and nose arts are going to be featured on a very massive decal set that is going to be included with the book. So it's going to be neat. I'm really excited about it. It's a rather large project, but I think it's going to be worth it in the end. Let's see. Robert's with us tonight. Good to see you, buddy. 411 is with us. Hey, David. Good to see you tonight, buddy. And David, you had emailed me about a 700 scale Titanic detail set, asking me if it was on my radar, and it was not. It is now. So we're working on getting those in here. So that'll be a good kit or a good set to go with the 700 scale Titanic from Hobby Boss, which, by the way, they just they announced it a while back, but we just started taking pre-orders for their 700 scale Britannic. So that's going to be pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to that. Bernard. Okay. Book recommendation here. So we need to check that out. Hey David, good to see you tonight, buddy. Hope you got your painting. Get that framed up and hung up. It's going to look awesome. And speaking of paintings, uh, the next round of original Squadron artwork has been put up on our site. Lee Bold sent me information for what the next round is going to be. So we got several choices added to the Don Greer painting section, and one of them this time is a Lou Drindle painting. So they're not all Don Greer, but the Lou Drindle paintings are excellent as well. So some really cool ones. And then the first round, the ones that are left, which we sold a few of them, but the ones that are left from the first batch, we have marked down. So if there were some of those in the first batch that you were considering, perhaps the slightly lower price will convince you to go ahead and pull the trigger on those. Really neat stuff. And we've got our new shop that's going to be our Squadron Museum. We've been setting that up, and I haven't shown any pictures of the new place in the past couple of weeks because at this point we're in there, and I think we've got it's so much to do getting it sorted out and organized. I think at this point I'm just going to wait until we're done and show you the pictures and videos of what it looks like completed. And once it's completed, we'll have the door open and you can come check it out. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I have no idea when that's going to be. We thought we were going to get moved in a couple of weeks, and here we are 3 or 4 months later, and we're finally done moving. So I don't even want to throw out a tentative date on when the store is going to be open, but we will get it done as quick as we can. Brian, any more brands you guys are getting ready to carry? Yes, always. You know, for me, my goal would be to have every brand if that makes plastic models, resin models, 3D models, accessories, books, whatever. I want it all. But the reality is there's only so much time, warehouse space, and money to go around. But time, I got another day tomorrow and another day after that. Money, we make a little bit every day so we can buy more stuff, and space. The complex that we're in, there's tons of space. We can continue to expand as needed. So maybe one day I'll have everything in our warehouse. But for right now, for the immediate future, the newest thing that we've got coming is Great Wall Hobby. We've got that being added, and the first batch. We got about, I don't know, maybe half of their product line coming in on this first shipment. It was kind of a last minute thing, so everything they make wouldn't fit. But we got the newest stuff, most of the U.S. subjects coming, and that'll be here maybe like the first week of December, somewhere in that ballpark, probably. And then, oh, who else is coming soon? At the first of the year, and I don't have an exact date on this, just a approximation, but sometime at the beginning of the year, we've got a lot of the Japanese brands coming, like Fine Mold. Um, I don't even remember there's a bunch of Japanese brands coming that we don't have, and I'm just having a brain slip right now. We've got, I mentioned having books as well, and we like books, obviously, but one of the brands of books that we've got coming soon, and these could be here in the next couple of weeks. I don't have an exact date. Shipping these days, I have learned to just not give a date because no matter what they tell me, they're going to be late. Uh, Not the companies, but the shipping companies, the freight carriers. We've we've got a container sitting over in Savannah right now, and it's been there for a few days, and it might still be sitting there for a few days. That the port strike that they did a couple of weeks ago, even though they cleared it up pretty quick. They say for every day they're on strike, that creates like a week or a month or whatever. Whatever, I don't know, but one day equals a lot of time being backed up. So they're trying to get caught up. Anyway, Kagero Books is a new line of books for us. Squadron used to carry Kagero years ago. We used to carry it at Free Time Hobbies years ago, but the brand kind of uh, fell out of the catalog, so to speak, for whatever reason through the years. But I will be very happy to welcome that brand back. They've got some really interesting things. Uh, I love their 3D books, and they just got a lot of good reference material specific to building models even. So it'll be cool. So check those out. We have and I won't mention specific ones because I don't know which ones are coming first, but we've got a lot of smaller accessories lines in the works, like decal lines that we've been kind of holding out on, I guess you could say, until we got moved and settled in over here, and we're on the tail end of getting settled in and organized, and then we're gonna contact all these guys that we've been kind of uh, putting on hold and tell them we're ready for them. And it's just some smaller decal companies that have a couple dozen sets, decals, mask sets, just all sorts of stuff that you guys have been asking for. 3D printed track links, that kind of thing. So you'll see some of the smaller uh, lines coming in as well over the next couple of months. So yes, Brian, we are constantly adding new stuff, and probably always will be until one day I can sit back and say, "Wow, we have it all." But that's never going to happen because these new companies are popping up all the time, especially now with 3D printing. It's like every day there's a new company. But and I'll tell you this, talking about getting new stuff in. This might as well be a new line for us, even though it's not. Gold medal models. Finally, at long last, we've got that stuff back into production. When we bought gold medal from Lauren a couple of years ago, production at the factory Lauren was using continued. Everything stayed the same, but as you may have heard me say in the past, one of the guys at that factory had a stroke, and he was not able to work for quite a while. And we waited around for a while, but at some point, we just had to make a change and get our stuff set up at a different factory, which we have done now. And you saw, I think, 3 or 4 different sets that we did a couple months ago now, or a few months ago now. And that was kind of testing the water, so to speak, making sure the new factory is going to work out for us. And we really liked it. The quality was great. The packaging was excellent, and they're easy to work with. So we cut them loose on everything else. So all the other gold medal stuff will be coming back. It'll be coming in waves. We've got the first wave of mostly 350 and 700 scale stuff coming probably towards the end of November. If I had to just guess, somewhere in that ballpark. Here we go with the you know counting on the shipping companies again, but that should be here around that time. And then after that, we've got some of the more um, what I call obscure scale stuff coming out. But it's really good stuff because if you've got 400 scale or 500 scale ship models, or some of the old box scale kits like the 570 scale stuff and the 240 scale stuff. Lauren made some excellent photo etch sets for those kits, and there's really not any other ball game in town for those. So we've got those coming back as well. So finally, at long last, we will be able to offer those again. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see, David Waples. All right, so David runs a ship model club, and they have a physical meeting out in Colorado, but they also have a virtual. You can get on with them virtual, and I've been in their club meeting at least once, and it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, I saw David that y'all are doing this December 7th uh, group build kind of thing. So that'll be cool to see uh, your stuff there. Make sure to send me pictures of that. I want to see how it works out or how it turns out for you. Very cool. Hey Jay Banks, how are you tonight, buddy? Yeah, Kimberly, going back to the show and tell. Yeah, please send me some pictures, and we'll get that added to it. the The show and tell is always a fun time for me. And just so you know, I mentioned November 6th. We always try to do it the first Wednesday night of the month. So unless that runs into for some reason not being able to do it, that's kind of what it's become is the first Wednesday night of the month. Let's see. And there's Lee himself. So he's the guy with the paintings. I don't know if you just joined us, Lee, but I got all the next round of stuff, and Lee tells me that the next round of stuff will be coming probably in another week or so. So yeah, I've got the ones you sent me, and I had one from that I got from you at Amps earlier this year. I got those up at the shop. We're trying to figure out exactly where we're going to hang those up. They're going to look good. I'm excited about it. Yeah, I next week I will make sure I have my tape measure in here, and we will figure out exactly how long the Dora is. And Lee, yeah, that Leopold art you sent me, man, that's cool. That is really neat. So I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to getting that out and getting it hung up. It's I think you told me that was the largest centerfold or not centerfold, the largest profile painting that he ever did. I mean, that thing's like this long. It's huge. Very cool. Hey, Robert. Yeah, send me that picture of your Dora again because I don't have it handy, and I will certainly show it out because it's cool. Yeah, Robert and I started building our Doras about the same time, and his is done and displayed on his wall and looking awesome, and mine's still over here in pieces. Hey, Tom, the mail call B-24, that one is planned to be included in the book. Robert, the 200 scale Olympic, the details. I don't know what details you're wanting to know. If you're wanting to know when it's going to be here, that's going to be probably sometime in December. I hope. I hope it makes it here before Christmas. If it doesn't, it'll definitely be January, but it should make it here in December. Uh, JL, the B-24 book, yes. So the front cover, the artwork for it, without all the text and logos and everything, will be available as a poster, as will every one of the images inside the book. All the pictures that Peter is creating and rendering for the book will be available as posters. Hey, Steve. So you're asking about ships, military ships, and you ask, do the kits really show the distinctions between ships? So that is kind of, I'm just going to assume to answer the question I think you're asking. And actually, to help me answer this question, I'm going to bring my good buddy Chris in here, and we'll talk about this. How are you, Chris?
Doing good.
Good. Good to see you tonight.
Say what?
I said it's good to see you tonight.
Yeah, you too, man. Sorry, I'm dealing with a bit of an allergy issue. We have some wonderful pollen issues here in Virginia, so
Welcome to the club.
yeah, I've been packing up along for most of the day.
I hear you. Well,
Um,
Steve's asking about distinctions between ships. So, assuming that you're new at ship modeling, Steve, obviously the difference between a battleship and an aircraft carrier, you definitely have that. But I'm going to assume that you're asking differences between, for example, Trumpeter makes a I don't know, an Alabama and a Massachusetts battleship. Sister ships, very, very similar, but there are small differences in the two ships. And usually, in a lot of these companies, they tool up these kits, and they got to get, from a business point of view, they've got to get the most bang out of their buck. When they make these things, they got to sell as many as they can. So the hulls are almost always exactly the same between two kits. But Chris, you've built a lot of the 700 scale stuff where they have multiple ships in the same class, but you'll build two or three out of the same class. So how different do you usually see differences in the same ship the same class when you build multiple ships out of the same class?
I would say it depends on the manufacturer.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Some will basically slap a name of a ship on a box, and you'll have maybe a slightly different superstructure. Um, Maybe because it's a later fit kit, they'll replace some, 50 cals with 20 millimeters or whatever, and pretend like that's actually enough to differentiate the different ships of the class. But um, I can tell you, so for like a good example would be Kajika with the Congos,
Okay.
and they did all four of the World War One configurations, and they did a pretty good job, from what I can remember, differentiating different vessels from each other.
Right.
Because like the Congo was actually built in the UK, and I believe the other ones were built in Japan, and there were some differences in superstructure and fit between the four sisters. Fujimi, for the most part, did a good job with the Congos. The Hiei itself is significantly different than their sister ships. For those not in the know, Hiei was decommissioned for the naval treaty and turned into a training vessel that happened to have battleship caliber guns. And they left her in a condition where she could be rapidly reactivated, and her superstructure configuration that was just built just before World War II was a model for the Yamatos. So she's very different than her sister ships. But in general, Fujimi does a good job with, especially in Japanese vessels, with doing some, making them look different enough.
Well, going back to your Kajika is a Flyhawk brand. I don't know if you knew that. So it's interesting that you say they did a good job showing the differences in the kits. And the reason I say that is Flyhawk, being what started out as an aftermarket brand, Photo Etch, a lot of times you can buy a ship model and you can build the specific ship out of the class by getting an aftermarket set. I remember years ago, going back to that Alabama and Massachusetts from Trumpeter, they did the Alabama, the Massachusetts, but they never did an Indiana. They never did the Indiana kit. Well, Yankee Model Works, they had an Indiana kit in resin, so they took all the resin parts out they needed, and they created a conversion set, basically. So you could buy a Trumpeter Massachusetts, you could buy the Yankee Indiana set, and you could build the Indiana. And you see this a lot with Ponto sets and all these different various companies. So it would make sense to me that somebody like Flyhawk and Kajika would get it right because they're used to getting it right in the aftermarket set, if that makes any sense.
Well, it's like there was a guy in Model Warships who built a USS Washington out of North Carolina, and I believe Yankee did a conversion set that he worked with, but it's a yeah, Fujimi's still making kits. Um, the differences were pretty surprising. I mean, in aircraft fit, superstructure, so on and so forth. And then you get into I was looking over there to try to remember if I can think of any manufacturers who do a very good job with really showing differences. And I mean, look at Dragon and the Bensons.
Right.
So, I mean, and I know there were some guys with Model Warships that were involved. I know Martin Quinn was involved. I think Sean was involved. And I'm not sure who else was really helping that company really build out those destroyers. But
yeah, their destroyers turned out really, really nice.
Oh, they're spectacular. They're easy to build. Well, that gold medal set you mentioned, which you have the Dragon set right now for pre-order, right? All those 350 scale destroyers.
Yes, and they'll be here next week. Actually, they're in that container that's sitting over on the coast right now.
If anyone here on this call wants to build a spectacular out of the box kit, I strongly encourage you to buy as many as you can as soon as those things come in. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Dragon destroyers of the Benson Gleaves kits. I took Best Ship in Lafayette with one of those, built as a Laffy, and they just go together really nicely.
Yeah, they do, and if you do want to add a little bit of extra, that's one of the gold medal sets that'll be here in a few weeks. That's one of them we got back in production. We got one for the Benson and one for the gearing, and that just really adds to what's already an excellent out of the box kit.
Yeah, and I mean I built my Laffy with the gold medal set, and when you mentioned that you had bought it, I mean I was really encouraged because I mean the aftermarket being the gold medal had gotten so hard to find had skyrocketed in price.
Right.
And especially with the Dragons, I know Flyhawk does one that's a little bit more comprehensive.
Yes, they do. I forgot about that.
It's also a much more difficult build for someone who's just wanting to get into ships. The gold medal set's perfect.
Oh, yeah. Well, even if you don't want to get that involved, what's included, here's a picture of the back of the box. What's included in the kit, I mean, there is some photo etch in there, and it's good. There's nothing wrong with it. So, talking about those kits, you can do a lot these days, or they can do a lot these days with all this slide mold stuff they're doing.
Well, and I know also, kind of getting onto the aftermarket that I've seen you working on. I mean, we're looking at 40 millimeters, 20 millimeters. We're looking at radars. We're looking at, I mean, I've seen some examples of people doing railing in 3D printing. That's incredible. And I mean, yeah, but even out of the box, I remember when I first got my Laffy kit, I was working for a petroleum company and was trying to keep myself entertained on my days off that were, healthier than most of the ways my friends were doing.
Right.
And I bought a Laffy, and that was my first model ship from the time I was probably a kid playing with firecrackers.
Okay.
And like Dragon was my reintroduction to the model ship world, and I can't speak highly enough about how good their products are.
Oh yeah, they do a good job, and I'm really excited about this Nelson that they're doing, if they will ever get it done, 350 scale. So that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of mixed reports, but everything I hear is mainly rumors and whatnot from some of the Model Warships guys. But I'll tell you this: the CG rendering looks fantastic, and I'll buy a kit even though I don't need any more.
Come on, there's always room for one more.
Yeah, tell my wife that.
It's like dessert. There's always room.
I'll tell you what, dude. When we're driving through and we see you all around Christmas, I'll have you say those exact same words to my wife and see what look she gives you.
All right. There you go. And TD, let me answer this question real quick. So gold medal, Lauren, he had two different sides of his business, one being the ship model side, which is what we purchased from him, but he retained the railroad stuff. So at this time, he is, to my knowledge, still selling the railroad photo etch himself, and I don't have any of that. I don't have anything to do with that. So, And Tom, Chris, you were mentioning Fujimi kits. Tom, yes, Fujimi is still making kits. And going back to my previous conversation about Japanese kits coming soon next year, that's in the mix. Now, they don't make, I don't think, as many as they used to as far as ships. Most of their stuff is car models that are for the Japanese market that we don't really have much interest in over here in America. You see some of them every once in a while. They do some neat stuff that make their way over here. But if you go on to the Japanese internet and find their Japanese website, they got some really wacky models, and most of that stuff you usually don't see make its way over here. So, talking about Japanese ships, so Tamiya recently reissued their 350 scale Takeo. I don't know if you knew that. Not Takeo, I'm sorry.
Chokai?
Yes. Or was it Tone?
It's one of those.
Yeah, one of those. Anyway, and so that's cool. And it got me thinking, I really wish Tamiya would do another 350 scale ship because they've not really done one in a long time. It was Chikuma. That's the one they just reissued. The last one that they did was that, and it was a new kit. It was that big super deluxe Yamato that we were talking about in here a little while ago, which was a super nice kit. But there's still a couple of Japanese ships that we haven't seen in 350 scale that would be awesome. I mean, if you had your pick of, because I know you love your IJN ships, if you had your pick of something Tamiya was going to do, what would it be?
Oh boy.
And it's got to be something semi-realistic that they might actually do, because I know you like some of the really obscure stuff.
Honestly, the two biggest glaring holes I see, if I'm staying away from heavy cruisers, because they have quite a few, I mean, we don't have a Soryu in 350 scale.
Yep, and that's the one that I was gonna. That would have been my pick, because every one of the other carriers, I think every one of the other carriers has been done.
I think the rest of Kita Batai has been done. I mean, we have we have 3 of the 4 Congos in plastic, but we've never seen Hiei. And I mean, I get, we talked about tooling, that above the waterline there are substantial differences with our sisters. But I think from an aesthetic point of view, I think Hiei is the prettiest of the 4.
Right. Well, maybe one of these days. Tabi is one of those companies that they surprise you, or at least they surprise me. You'll be going along, and then all of a sudden we have a 48 scale F-35 that's absolutely a beautiful kit, the way they tooled that up. So, maybe we'll see something one of these days soon. If they do it, it'll sell good.
I think, honestly, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I would love to have. There's one in particular you and I have talked about that I think might be coming down the pipeline, if you know which one I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, it's vague. I don't want to get into specifics. I mean, you have various museum ships we haven't seen any models of. I mean, my heart breaks for the SS United States now that's going to be used as a reef close to my wife's hometown, which would be nice for me because I enjoy diving, but I would much rather see that ship restored. You have opportunities for your angle-decked Essexes. I can't talk today. The Caroline over in the UK. We have a Belfast, which is nice.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, North Carolina's done, Alabama's done. I mean, Trumpeters Alabama definitely benefits from the Flyhawk set.
Right.
But it's still a good kit.
Oh yeah. I mean,
for me, American heavies, the standard type battleships, especially if we can see someone producing really good 3D printed cage masks that maintain, a degree of the fineness of the mast, but also that hourglass shape.
Right.
Because it just doesn't look right when you're just using brass.
Oh yeah. Well, when we did that 700 scale 3D printed cage mast, that might be like one of the top 2 or 3 sellers of all time for us. It's like everybody that bought a trumpeter kit, you needed that, because it just makes a humongous difference compared to the straight cone shape of a photo etch one.
Agreed.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I think I bought one for my Florida for the Nico kit, which that kit requires a little bit more surgery. It's put on a little bit of weight, we might want to say. And you put one out, I believe, that was kind of an early cage mask versus the heavier ones from the later Big Fours.
Yeah.
Types.
Once upon a time, we had all of the early cage. Well, or I say early, they're all early. But once upon a time, we had all the cage masks, and you would use them on. Nico had a few of them. Combrig had several of them, and then there was a couple of other. What at one point, and I think you remember me collecting these. At one point, I had my goal was I was going to build all BB1 through 71, regardless of if they were ever really built or not. And at one point, I had a kit for every single one of them, except for there was one class of ships that nobody ever did, and we were going to do it under Blue Ridge, and then we just kind of pulled away from making kits for a while. Which class was it? It was the original South Dakota class, I think.
BB-49? The one that's available in resin only?
No, because no, not that one. Okay. There was another class because nobody ever did it in resin. There was 5 ships, and I can't remember which class it is right now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I don't know. I'd love to see that whole every one of the battleships built and displayed side by side. So
I'm actually look Delaware's maybe.
No, Delaware's were done by Combrig.
Okay. They were?
Mm-hmm.
Or is that Samick?
Oh, yes, Samick. I'm sorry. You're right. I forget. You know what? And maybe that was, you know what? I bet that was the class that had never been done, and I bet I talked Samick into doing them. That's probably, I forgot about Samick.
Yeah, I'm still kicking myself in the butt. I remember you got those on your site, and I was like, I'll wait. You know what? I'll wait till tomorrow. You know what? I'll wait till next week. I'll wait. And yeah.
Yeah, he had some very interesting stuff for sure. Tom wants to know where do you find your ship colors? Man, that is a loaded question. I've got it somewhere. There is a file that I used to have as a big PDF, and it had pretty much every color in it that you could imagine. It was a conversion chart really for Vallejo paints, but they had everything you could possibly imagine, mostly for American, British, German, and Japanese ships. Tom, send me an email sometime. I bet you I have that file on my computer at the shop, and if I do, I'll send it to you. But it was an awesome file. But most of the time, the kit instructions are relatively good at giving you the colors you need. Now, usually they are pretty specific to a certain brand of paint. If they make a deal with, I don't know, Vallejo or Ammo or whoever, they'll list their colors regardless of if they have the actual color you need or not. They'll just pick something close. But, I mean, usually the kit instructions are pretty decent at that. Well, I mean, wouldn't you say, Chris?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's usually what I go with, but once you start at least for me, once you start building a certain Navy, you find that a lot of the same colors are used for several ships and boats. So
the one big caution there is you had 3 distinct grays in like the IJN, right?
Okay.
Curie, and I'm forgetting the other 2 now. They're meaningfully like in 700 scale or even 350 scale. I mean, unless you're doing like, Dan K's work, right? Kaplan?
Oh yeah.
Where it's like spotless. Which, I mean, Kaplan's work is really probably some of the best stuff you'll see from anything from the Japanese Navy.
Right.
But unless you're doing that spotlessness where it looks like a museum ship, you're going to have filters, you're going to have rust, you're going to have repainting.
Right.
In a lot of those cases, it doesn't necessarily matter.
That's a good point.
I think it's good to know what the actual color chip looks like, but you have to understand also there's a scaling effect. And being able to understand that you're not right here looking at paint, you're potentially viewing something from, say, half a kilometer away. Or even like when we're passing by the USS Alabama when we're visiting my in-laws, I mean, that gray is different from that view from the interstate than it is from me standing on the vessel itself. So I think, I mean, I'm maybe a bad ship modeler here, but sometimes I'm good with the ballpark and just making sure that if there are color pictures available from a distance or farther from, that I'm matching that.
Right. Well, to your point, at the end of the day, it's my model.
Mhm.
And if I'm happy with it, that's really all that matters. Now, most of us want it to be as close as possible, but it is like you said, a 2 or 3 foot model is very different than a big ship that's been sitting out in the sun, by the way, every day, all of its life. So, but I saw a question here, David. David wants to know about flower class ships. So the only ones that I've got that I'm aware of at the moment are Black Cats. Black Cat's got a lot of flower class stuff. So check that out. He makes some good kits. May or may not have the exact one you're looking for, but he's got them. And he makes a lot of good 3D printed stuff too. So let's see. Knox class from Iron Shipwrights. Yeah, Iron Shipwrights, they have a lot of resin stuff that fills a lot of holes that are not available in plastic. And we used to have the Iron Shipwright stuff listed on our site, but when we started moving, I pulled them off because those we don't actually stock those. The guy John that creates those, he casts them to order, so to speak, and he lives right up the road from us. So those will be coming back to our website pretty soon, as soon as I can get around to getting it done. But they've got a lot of cool stuff for sure.
Yeah, and I mean they've done a lot of updates on their stuff too. If you
Oh
go
yeah,
there to the 3D printed superstructure and accessories,
oh
it's
yeah,
really addressed a lot of the shortcomings of their kits.
yeah. Their new stuff is really a huge step above some of their earlier kits. And here's a interesting bit of information. He's got a lot of new submarine models that he's been working on. A lot of those are actually our Blue Ridge models subs, because in the time that we sold Free Time Hobbies, the guy that bought it sold the patterns to our submarines off to John, and he repurposed them into Iron Shipwrights, and he made some improvements to some of them with some of the newer 3D stuff. So it's pretty neat. All right, Chris. Here's a fun question. You're gonna like this one. Steve Murphy says, "Who makes the best ship models?"
Or
And you're
what?
right, Steve. That is a very loaded question.
Um,
Yeah, there's not a good way to answer that.
what do you? Okay, so let me ask you this. If you're willing to follow that question up, what are your interests? I mean, is it like World War II, World War One, plastic, styrene, multimedia, and price point? I mean, it's just
Yeah,
I can
and
tell you,
yeah,
Flyhawk makes some of the most beautiful kits I've seen, and in 700 scale, the fineness of the details is really impressive. It's not over, most of the stuff on there. I mean, you're gonna have some level of an overscale hatch and whatnot, just so you can actually see it. But they're so easy to build, and I was working on the Hermes, and mold lines disappear and gaps disappear if you use a little bit of the Tamiya cement. It disappears. I mean, and to be able to build something that's that clean without spending hours puttying like some manufacturers, I would vouch for them. Yeah, Frank, Tamiya kits are, from an engineering perspective, very, very easy to get to go together. Um, a lot of their 700 scales have been outdated, with the exception, I think, did Tamiya do the Indianapolis in 700 scale?
Yes, but it's not a new kit.
It's still a good kit, though.
Oh yeah, it is, but it's not one of their newer kits.
Steve, are we talking American, Japanese, or what, like a specific nation?
World War II, no price point aircraft carriers.
If we're going Japanese, I mean, the Hasegawa Akagi is fantastic. The Fujimi 350 scale carriers are fantastic. Hasegawa's
there's a
Akagi,
big difference in 700 versus 350 scale.
yeah,
Because if you want 350 scale, that throws Flyhawk out.
yeah. Well, they do make accessories, at least.
Oh, yes. And then that's another question too. So your ship models, are you willing to go down the aftermarket path? Because if you're willing to drop a couple $100 on a Ponto set, trumpeter kits all of a sudden look really, really good.
No comment.
Well, you understand my point though. You can, if price doesn't matter and you don't mind aftermarket accessories, really, with Pontos and KA and all these guys doing this stuff, you can really beef up something. And then you get into the 3D printing, a lot of times you'll end up replacing pretty much everything except the hull.
No comment. No, David made a comment, and I agree. The Flyhawk series and Black Cat models has some incredible kits. I have their Destroyer Escort, and to build as a SAMI B, and I mean, it's just everything about that kit's amazing. I found with a lot of 3D printed resin kits, you use the 3D printed hull as a master. They don't do a very good job of sanding the print lines. But what's coming from Black Cat looks like something that was done traditionally out of styrene and
right,
master, and so on and so forth. But everything they do is on a computer, and everything is as accurate as you can get. I really cannot speak highly enough of Black Cat and the work they do.
Oh yeah, and when I say they, Ben, he's a great guy, and he does some really, really good designs. Here's a cool looking little thing that I meant to include in my email today, but I forgot. And this is something, David Waples, you were asking me about. This is kind of cool. It's 350 scale, V2 rocket as set up on the USS Midway. And you don't have to have a Midway kit to display this, because it's coming with a little deck section and little base to put it in. But it's a very, very interesting thing, I thought. So those will be coming soon. And I guess in 350 scale, the little V2 rocket should be about 1.5 inches tall. So the whole little thing there is not huge, but it's all 3D printed, as you can imagine. Well, 3D printed photo etch. So I don't know. That'll be a cool thing, I think. Yeah, and going back to Flyhawk, talking about the Cowpens model from Flyhawk, that is their first venture into 350 scale, and the kit is super nice. And I hope that it was a success for them, and they'll continue down the 350 path, because like Chris said, they make some really, really good stuff. But you start getting up into those bigger molds, that's more money at the tool shop. So I hope that it did good for them, because it was a really good price for such a new tool mold, whatever.
So there's actually, I think Martin Quinn did a review of the kit. I can post a link to it if you want me to.
Yes. Yeah, we sent him that kit, and it was it him, or was it I thought Devin did that review.
Let me double check. I actually just pulled it up. No, it was Devin. You're right. It was Devin. Yeah. I need to stop taking away credit from Devin.
I did the same thing. I'm just so used to, because Martin sends me the information, so I just make a wrong assumption that it's his review. But yeah, over at modelwarships.com, and if you go to our website and pull up the model, I've got a link to it right here, so you can check this out. And Flyhawk makes this in deluxe and in standard, and you can imagine the difference. But this is the deluxe version. So if you scroll way down here, he is very thorough in his review. You see all the added photo etch and 3D printed parts that are included in the deluxe version. But yeah, Devin really, really goes through this thing. So if you have any questions, concerns, or just curious about a Flyhawk kit, go check this review out. And there's nothing that you will need to ask after reading this. So I just hope
he served on it too, on one of her sister ships as well. So I mean, Devin has firsthand experience of the ship.
Okay. Well,
at least.
Then he sure knows. Cool. Tom wants to know, Chris, if you've built any U-boats.
Yeah, I commented in the chat. I don't really do subs. I've done some Civil War era, the Civil War era sub. But if I'm being honest, my oil streaking and making things look like they've been in the water for a while, like that is not the best. There's a reason why I cheat when I do waterline kits. And if I'm doing a submarine, I mean, I want it to look like that thing has been sitting in Lord knows what for how long.
Yeah.
So I just the weathering that I'd want to be able to pull off to make a submarine look really interesting is still a work in progress with my skills.
Well, there you go. The submarines, I've for whatever reason enjoy them, probably because they're relatively quick to build. And going back to your scale effect for paint, I built like all of our Blue Ridge subs, like the Growler and the Albacore and the Nautilus and all that era of submarines. They're black, right? But when you paint them black, they end up looking like a toy to me. So I really, really like, I think it's Tamiya has a black called rubber black or tire black. I think no, it's NATO black is the Tamiya color. Mm-hmm. That's like my favorite color of black for painting things black, but not having it actually black, because it just looks right. And that, for me, that's the biggest example of the scale color effect that you're talking about, because you throw straight black on there and it's black. But that NATO black from Tamiya is awesome. Have you ever used that color?
Yes.
You guys gotta try NATO black from Tamiya. It's awesome.
Yep. It's a smoke color is the best way to put. Hold on.
Yeah, that's it.
Very dark-ish gray.
Well, it looks gray. But when you put that on a submarine, I mean, that looks black, right? But it's not. It's that color. And, compared to my hat, it just, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It just looks right. It doesn't look too dark, too black.
Brian made a comment in chat that's very true. It does kind of have a green tint to it. That's an accurate statement.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. For me, it just I like it, at least for my submarines.
I've used it even with my mini painting as a base coat, because it's not so black that it becomes difficult to really do any sort of highlighting on with an airbrush before you actually paint it. But it just, for whatever reason, it feels more in scale than like a standard black.
Right. Okay. I can see that. Lady Knievel wants to know how to trim 3D parts. And David has already answered, saying using an ultrasonic knife is what he uses. I know a lot of people use a heated knife. To be honest with you, though, I have not had any trouble with our new handy-dandy fancy super nippers. And the reason that these work better than standard nippers is because they're the single-sided, the guillotine style. The standard type of nippers, it'll break it and cause that that 3D printed sprue, it'll break up inside your part. But they are 3D printed things for me are very tricky because depending on who produced them, the supports can be totally different. Like our Blue Ridge models, the first batch of 20 millimeter guns and 700 scale, and I think you used some of these, Chris. The supports on those were so fine that you didn't even have to cut them off. The way that they worked, you could take your tweezers and literally just pull them right off of the sprue. But I've also had parts that I swear it wasn't resin, it was like metal, and it was like a nightmare trying to get them off. So there's so many different types of resins out there that these 3D guys use that I don't know. I don't want to tell you exactly how to cut them because it might screw your part up. But it's very tricky. It's a lot more delicate than a traditional resin cast.
I think that it depends on how well cured the resin is. I mean, I've gotten some stuff in the mail that I can tell hasn't spent enough time in sunlight or the equivalent to really harden.
Yeah.
Like with my 3D printer, when I'm printing stuff off, when I'm building my little mechs and I'm replacing guns and whatnot, I'll take a heat gun to it and it'll loosen up those really thin little bits enough where I can take any sort of a clipper and clip it without damaging it.
That's a good
But if
idea.
you're doing like a Black Cat model where you have this, a potential one of those cones is larger than the actual railing on the gun. If you really want to if you want to avoid junking a lot of pieces of 3D printed resin, I agree with David here. Like, look at the cost of Black Cat models, aircraft for like a U.S. carrier for World War II. I mean, for an entire air wing, you're going to spend a couple $100 if you really want that detail. And if you're not careful with the way you're pulling that stuff off the wafer, you're going to waste a lot of money. So if you're doing a lot of 3D printing work, there are other manufacturers that both that are part of Squadron and not, and you get those wafers in the mail. And if if you built it, it can get expensive. I mean, those parts definitely can be easily ruined unless you spend the time to do it. I mean, the clippers up here are a good way to do it. Figures, it just depends.
Well, and depending on how big the part is, those CMK makes those little razor saws with the extremely fine teeth on them. Those things work wonders, but they are a little bit bigger. So depending on where you're trying to cut, All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up for the evening, I suppose. This has been good. And Chris, mostly I wanted to bring you on because I needed to remind you of our little deal. You're supposed to be building, I think it was 2 ship models. Well, looky, Dora, there it is. It's in progress again. Now, don't get too excited because just because it's back in progress doesn't mean much. So here, you want to see, this is the, I always talk about how many sprues this thing has, but let me just show you. So here's one box. That's nothing. But here is the bulk of the sprues. An entire Tupperware crate of sprues. Yeah, and your whole in the palm of your hand there. So yeah, I've got a ton of work to do. And you've got one little tiny ship there.
Well,
your ship model will fit on one end of the Dora.
Well, I'll tell you what, dude. I've got bad news. Saturday, next week, my wife has a business venture in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
All right.
And I am sacrificing my time and my weekend and my health to go there, start, on Saturday and be there all week. I'll be home on Saturday of the following week. And after dealing with the collective hangover, fried conch, rum, and beach weather, I will do everything in my power to do a little building on Saturday and Sunday. I will try.
Well, I'll see how much of a rail gun I can get built while you're gone. How about that?
You can give me all the crap you want, and I'll sit and I'll send you pictures of me on the beach with a good pina colada.
There you go. Well, buddy, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us for a little while, and enjoy your trip. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon.
Yeah, man. I'll catch you later.
Talk to you soon, buddy. Well, guys, I appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. Hope you had a good time. I'm gonna go find the bed here in a little while and get back to the shop in the morning. We've got a lot of good stuff coming in soon, and just trying to get it all done. Very excited to get our shop in our Squadron Museum, as we're calling it, set up and ready for you guys to come visit us. And don't know if it'll happen by the end of the year, but we're trying. And but even if it doesn't, that Chattanooga Model Show is the first weekend in January, and we'll definitely be there. So you guys, if you're anywhere close to this area, come to there. It's the first IPMS show of the year. It's always a good time. So make sure to check that out. But until next time, y'all take it easy, and I'll see you here again next Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. Thank you so much, guys.